Appreciate you clicking on this video. We've got movie news to discuss here today, so let's dive into it. Some of the things we're going to be discussing here today, guys, is it looks like we have our Lex Luthor, who has been cast in Superman Legacy. We got Creed 4 getting confirmed and announced, along with an update concerning the Spider-Man world that is making me so mad. Really, that alone, so much more. So leave your opinions down below with everything we discuss here today, and well, let's just jump into it. And kicking things off here, we got our first look to Beverly Hills Cop 4. I'm not even sure how much of my younger audience is even familiar with the Beverly Hills Cop movies, but if you're not, I say they're worth a watch. They star Eddie Murphy as cop Axel Foley, and they're just enjoyable comedies, a real throwback to the 80s and 90s. And fans have always been churning for that fourth movie, and well, Netflix is going to be the one to deliver it to us. Looking at it here, Eddie Murphy in that varsity jacket barely looks like a year has gone by. I do think it's going to be interesting to see him strap back into this role. While I'm someone who enjoys Eddie Murphy a lot, I feel like his comeback has been a little difficult. He's done a lot of great roles in between the time of his absence. My favorite one being Dolomite Is My Name, but this feels like it'll be the most classic return to form for Eddie Murphy. And with it coming out on Netflix, I hope it is full throttle, non-stop, just kind of that old raunchy 80s 90s humor we used to have. But with it being on streaming, I'm assuming they're not going to have much of a restriction since it's now going to theaters and they're not worried about box office numbers. It can just be a full-on comedy. But I'm also going to hold out to wait and see on a trailer here because it could be another Netflix flop, okay? Sometimes with these streaming movies, you just don't know. We do have good ones here and there, but other times it's like, why did they make this? Let me know if you guys are excited for Beverly Hills Cop 4. Something else that was announced today that actually got me excited is the confirmation that The Blackening 2 will be happening. Now, The Blackening, I think, is one of the underrated horror comedies that got released this year. In fact, I didn't even get a chance to see The Blackening when it was in theaters. I guess I was busy at the time, but 2 weeks ago, I had food in front of me. I was looking for something to watch. I saw The Blackening there on my screen. I was like, let me hit play on that. Let's see how that goes. And oh, it was a hilarious, fun movie. Really great. It was like the closest to getting scary movie vibes, and I mean that in the most positive way possible. But overall, it was still awesome, and to see that they're planning a sequel now, give it to me. So I not only bring this up for my handful of people that did get to see The Blackening this year, but also to recommend the movie to you. Check it out and get ready for the sequel, because I think it'd be worth the wait. And speaking of sequels, another movie that flat out surprised me this year, Dungeons and Dragons. This was a movie I would have bet you any money I was not going to enjoy. I was probably going to be bored out of my mind just because I don't know much about Dungeons and Dragons. But no, sitting down and watching that film, that was also a really fun blast. I was way more entertained than I thought I would be watching a Dungeons and Dragons movie, but sadly, a lot of people felt like me at first, where they didn't even want to give the movie a chance until they started seeing some of those positive reviews, and because of that, it didn't earn as much money as they were hoping for at the box office. But that does not mean hope is dead on a sequel, because Chris Pine did comment on the situation. He said exactly, "I've heard some rumors about it," he tells us, of a potential follow-up, "but I don't know anything yet, but I feel pretty confident that it may happen." So, although not 100% confirmation, Chris Pine, being in the space, surrounded by the people who make the movie, hearing the rumors that it could actually happen, I think is a good sign. Dungeons and Dragons is probably a movie that is going to do so much better once it hits streaming, or once a whole bunch more people get to see it and realize it's actually a fun film, because not only the comedy and action was great in it, the world they built actually got me interested in Dungeons and Dragons, and I think the potential is there to have a couple of movies in that world that I would love to jump into. So here's hoping Dungeons and Dragons 2 happens. Throw it off to you guys. Would you be excited for a sequel to Dungeons and Dragons? Next story here, another sequel to a Hollywood movies. I am seeing a pattern here, Hollywood. We can only making sequels and remakes, right? It's keeping me in business, so let's keep that going. But I think I'm gonna have to be the Debbie Downer here, because we got Variety reporting here a new Jason Bourne movie in the works at Universal. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be Peter Griffin drowning in that one episode.
I did not care for The Godfather.
What?
Did not care for The Godfather.
How can you even say that, Dad?
Didn't like it.
I don't know what it is about the Jason Bourne movies. I hear people all the time raving about how awesome they are, how much they love them, and I thought I would be in that same boat. I like Matt Damon. I like action movies, espionage thriller, good action scenes, stuff like that. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I sat down to watch the trilogy, and it was just, I wasn't that into it. I couldn't get into it as much as other people. So much so I didn't even watch the new one that came out, the Jason Bourne one, which, heck, I heard it wasn't even all that great. But who knows? Maybe there's still people out there excited for it. I do think Matt Damon is starting to age a little bit. Maybe Universal is hoping it'll be their Mission Impossible because, Tom Cruise is kicking along and he's, got that age ticker going too, but he's doing outrageous stunts. The article does mention that Edward Berger would be the one to direct it, and he recently did All Quiet on the Western Front, which I have seen a lot of my movie mutuals get excited just for that. But for me, I wish I was a fan. Sometimes you check out a movie and you're just not into it like other people, But hey, I know you're out there, you're watching, and you're a Jason Bourne fan and you're excited. Tell me why I should give those movies another chance. Moving on here, another sequel, reboot, remake. Let's go, baby, let's go. We got revealed this weekend the announcement that Creed 4 is officially happening. We had Erwin Winkler, who is the producer of all the Creed movies and is also the one having the feud with Sylvester Stallone in real life for the rights to the Rocky franchise, which I'm just going to kind of put that aside for right now and look at it as a fan of the Rocky movies. He was recently interviewed over the weekend and he said, "We are planning to do Creed 4 right now. We have a really good story and a really good plot. We got a little delayed because of the strikes, but after a year from now, we are going into pre-production." He also goes ahead to confirm that Michael B. Jordan will return to direct this movie, and I thought he did do a great job with Creed 3, so Creed 4, yeah, I want to see it, if Rocky can get to like 6-7 movies, let Creed go there too. Why does his franchise have to end after 3 movies? Now, granted, I'm willing to say Rocky, the whole series combining with Creed, is probably one of the only movie franchise that is consistently great back to back to back. I've grown up and I don't think Rocky 5 is as bad as I used to think. And with the Creed trilogy, that trilogy is awesome. It's almost like a perfect little standout series. It's unbelievable that they spin that off and they still made it work. But then there is, that little voice in the back of my head that is screaming some obvious negatives or things I should be hesitant with this new movie. Like, one, what do we do with the Rocky situation? Because even though I'm all up for Creed now having his own story, his own villains, not tied to the legacy, there were parts of Creed 3 where I was like, man, it feels so odd that Rocky isn't here at this funeral. It feels weird that Rocky isn't included in this big Adonis moment. Like, he feels like he still needs to be there a little bit. And with the current rights battle and Sylvester Stallone not being happy with the producers, he's not going to be part of Rocky 4. So it's going to kind of suck just having that, like, bad taste in our mouths as Rocky fans, because I want to support Sylvester Stallone. And then there's the other part of it about the Jonathan Majors situation. We just still don't know what his future in Hollywood is looking like. And I thought the character they created for him in Creed 3 was so awesome that I thought that he could be almost like his Apollo or partner that they can continue on and they can continue building out these like interconnected characters in the boxing world. But now that's just going to be another disappearing character if things go bad with the Jonathan Majors court case. So I don't know. I'm up and down about it. I'm still very much open to the idea. I'm for sure curious about what they mean with we have a really good story in mind. Only direction I could think is they're obviously headed to a franchise where Adonis's daughter takes over. And yeah, she's an interesting character in herself. She's deaf. She wants to be a fighter. We've never explored female boxing in the Rocky world. I'd be down to see that eventually develop. I'd throw it off to you guys. You hear Creed 4 is happening. What do you think they should do? Bringing us here to talk about some news story that popped up with Spider-Man that I'm like, take it with a grain of salt. But if this is real, I am gonna probably punch someone in the face. Next person I see. Grandma! We had a scooper online, Daniel RPK, who you are familiar with, recently say that Spider-Man 4 will have connections to the Sony Marvel films. Basically saying that Sony is really interested for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 to finally connect together these spin-off movies that they've been making, and I don't want that. I really don't want that at all. We knew in some weird kind of way this was eventually going to happen, but I just always denied it. I always thought to myself, it's not going to happen. They're smarter than that. They're not going to do that. But Sony's gonna try. I never had a post-credit scene piss me off as much whenever they took Michael Keaton's Vulture and put him in the Morbius world. And I was so excited when I heard that maybe Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland and the MCU was just gonna ignore that and leave Vulture in the MCU and do something there. But, at the end of the day, Sony is the ones who get final say on what happens with the Spider-Man movies. They still own the rights and they're just working in partnership with Marvel. But man, why do you want to do this? This would ruin things so badly if you put us in a world where Spider-Man is next to Morbius, is even next to Venom. I know there's fans of that Venom world. This is so low grade. I get so mad when people are like, Andrew should show up in those Venom films. I know Andrew had a bad movie here and there, but Andrew is still way better than whatever those Venom movies are, man. Don't you dare put him in that universe. The only way I would be okay with some sort of connection, and it would have to be a really small, tiny scene, just have Madam Web talk to him. I'll give you that, Sony. Just have a scene where Madam Web meets Tom Holland's Spider-Man. She says, oh, you're part of a larger world. There's a lot more like you. You've met two of them already. And you show little footage of all your other movies, and there you go. That's how you let the world know everything's connected. Then let Tom Holland go and have his own great trilogy. Like, can you believe Tom Holland hasn't had a classic movie where he's in New York just doing classic Spider-Man things? That's what I really want for Spider-Man 4, is just a classic Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, okay? He's broke, he's got nobody, he's gonna be all alone, he doesn't have money and gadgets hand me down. I'm so excited for what Spider-Man 4 could be for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Nothing makes a Spider-Man fan happier than a depressed Spider-Man, so give me my depressed Spider-Man and let the multiverse stuff go until Secret Wars. But again, that's just me. At the end of the day, Sony's gonna do what Sony does, know what I'm saying? If they end up pulling this connection, how do you want it to be handled? Do you honestly want Tom Holland pulled into a world where Venom is there, Morbius is there? Remember at one point that said that they were going to cut deals with the MCU. I so wonder what the plan was going to be then before they rekindled things. But now bringing us here to the announcement that got revealed today, our Lex Luthor for Superman Legacy. So Deadline here is reporting that Superman Legacy, Nicholas Hoult lands role of Lex Luthor. According to Deadline, they're saying he's the one that has got the role. And we've heard about this. There was a video I made a couple months back saying that Nicholas Hoult was actually up in the running to play Superman. And that's a little bit funny because he was also second choice to play Batman in Matt Reeves as the Batman if Robert Pattinson didn't take the role. This is a man who lost out on both the Superman and Batman role and is now playing Lex Luthor. He has so much motivation. He is pissed to missing out on those two giants. But genuinely, I love this casting. I think Nicholas Hoult is an extremely talented actor. He can definitely pull off the facade. You know, I've already seen enough badly photoshopped bald images of Nicholas Hoult. I think he's gonna pull off the look good, and Superman Legacy is just shaping up to be something interesting. James Gunn did say we wouldn't even get a look at the new Superman suit until after the movie was finished, but we've gone through this before. So many DC movies have filmed and then they release like a little teaser of just the suit revealed during production. Let me know what you guys think about these news involving Superman Legacy and what your hopes for the plot will be. But that is all movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.